President Bottoms, Chairman of the Board Baker, trustees, administrators, members of the faculty, alumni, parents and friends, and most of all to the 1993 graduating class of DePauw University. 36 years ago, on a June day very much like this, in Blackstock Stadium, my DePauw classmates and I sat where you sit, anxiously, nervously, waiting to be granted our hard-earned Bachelor of Arts degrees. Early in the program, as today, President Russell J. Humbert introduced a highly distinguished chairman and chief executive officer of a top 10 Fortune 500 company. Speaking on the subject, conformity or compromise, our commencement speaker gave us a rather thoughtful, long, dull, boring speech of sound and fury signifying, we thought, absolutely nothing. So as I rise to address you, I have great empathy for your situation. I sympathize with your anxiety, but believing as I do in equal opportunity, I plan to do to you what my commencement speaker did to me. I came to DePauw University 40 years ago from the South, from a segregated, ill-equipped, overcrowded, double-sessioned high school where I studied in 1951 from a plain geometry book that had been used by white students in Atlanta in 1935. In my hometown, Atlanta, public accommodations, libraries, parks, buses, water fountains, and courtrooms were all segregated. When I traveled north to this campus, I found some similarities. I was the only black in my class. There were 5 blacks in the entire student body. The black barber in town would not cut my hair. I could not join a fraternity. Social mobility was limited. I couldn't get a beer at Moore's Bar, and the Von Castle Theater was more welcoming if I sat upstairs. Despite the sometimes inconvenient circumstances, I received an excellent education here. DePauw University expanded my mind, broadened my horizons, lifted my sights, and prepared me to serve and to lead. DePauw University nurtured my growth and maturity. I made lasting friendships here, and if I had my life to live over again, I would return to this place. And I say to you, as Daniel Webster said, of another school and another time. It is a small college, and yet there are those who love it. I too love DePauw, and I thank you, President Bottoms, for this homecoming. And sir, it is with honor and humility that I accept the John McNaughton Medal for Public Service. I love DePauw more because of the way DePauw has changed. Today's DePauw is more diverse, more open, more in tune with what America is and what America can become. Like other colleges and universities, and indeed all American institutions, DePauw faces some big challenges in adapting to that diversity. Diversity means a culture of inclusion, an environment that welcomes and values the differences among people of varied backgrounds. It recognizes that all people contribute to our society and that America's strength lies in the variety of its people's cultures and traditions. Diversity is a means to an end, the creation of an open, pluralistic, integrated society. But since many people twist the meaning of diversity to fit their own agenda, let me say here what diversity is not. Diversity is not an excuse to substitute flattering myth for history, to distort the curriculum, or to excuse self-segregation and self-exclusion. I am, quite frankly, disturbed that so many of this generation's beneficiaries of diversity refuse to embrace it and instead do to themselves what the segregationists did to those before them. Alumni and student associations organized along racial and ethnic lines are perfectly legitimate expressions of diversity, but insisting on single race dormitories or racially exclusionary activities are not. Such practices subvert diversity, which values and respects all people and seeks to bring them together, not drive them further apart. Creating diverse institutions is a difficult task because our history has emphasized separation and exclusion. Racism and prejudice have been negative forces throughout our history. We must overcome them if we are to prosper in the new century ahead. We need only look at places like Bosnia to see where the alternative leads. All America, in my judgment, will have to pull together because the world is changing. This graduating class enters a world very different from the world of my class of 1957. When I left DePauw, the Cold War was at its height. America's economy was unchallenged, and its military might was contested only by the Soviet Union, and America was just beginning to deal with civil rights. You now enter a world no longer threatened by a superpower conflict, and an America whose laws, if not its practices, recognize the rights of all of its citizens. But technology and a new global marketplace have changed our economy beyond recognition. Your careers will depend not only on the education you got at DePauw University and the lifelong learning you will do, but also on obscure, little understood developments. Where and how you work over your lifetimes will be influenced by the discoveries of scientists made in Silicon Valley, Tokyo, and Stuttgart, by policies that encourage economic growth and the revival of our cities, by the terms of trade treaties negotiated at the Uruguay rounds, by the passage of the North American Free Trade Agreement. So if you want to exercise some control over your destiny, you will have to get involved in the world around you. Democracy is not a spectator sport, and you need to be participants in the political and policy decisions that will affect your lives. As a lifelong Democrat, I'm not sure how hard to press that point, because unless DePauw has changed a lot more than I think it has, you graduates are probably the exception to the rule that youth and liberalism go together. In my days here, there were about 600 young Republicans and 6 members of the Jackson Club. Bill Clinton may have changed that ratio a tad, since you may have more in common with a saxophone player than a horseshoe pitcher. But whatever your political affiliation, Republican, Democrat, or Independent, it is vital for you to be fully informed about the issues of our day and to participate in the public debates on those issues. The key word is informed. DePauw has prepared you to think critically and to rise above the stereotyped opinions, whatever their source. Some crucial, difficult, almost insoluble policy issues are on the front burner of America today. We're indeed playing catch up after a dozen years of national administrations that said government is the enemy. The public recognized the need for change in America last November when it elected my friend and fellow Southerner, William Jefferson Clinton, President of the United States. Bill Clinton won because more Americans believed that the Clinton program made more sense than the draconian solutions offered by Ross Perot or the failed solutions offered by George Bush. And Bill Clinton did some amazing things for a Democrat in that election. He won the active support of some very respected corporate leaders and former military chiefs. He won the suburban vote. He cracked the once solid Republican South. He walked away with the once Republican Far West. The Clinton Gore ticket gave the baby boomers 2 of their own, and the long-awaited generational shift in American politics finally took place. I believe Bill Clinton brings a new spirit and a new hope to the American people, but it's been a short honeymoon. The administration has been criticized for not doing enough and for doing too much. Despite that, I believe the Clinton administration is off to a good start, problems notwithstanding. First, it has set a new agenda for America. Whether you support the administration's positions on the issues or not, it is focusing on critical long-term issues like health care and economic renewal that have been neglected for too long. Second, the Clinton administration is the first in memory to get serious about deficit reduction. Again, You may want more or less of it. You may prefer more of it come from spending cuts than taxes. But the essential point is that the president has put this issue on the table where it belongs, and a real debate on deficit reduction is taking place in America. A third accomplishment is the administration's emphasis on renewing the long-range prospects for our economy through concrete measures to improve the schools and the training available to our people and to help develop a high-tech infrastructure. Some may believe that's not an appropriate role for government, but Germany and Japan do, and that's why they are such formidable competitors. Fourth, the administration's proposal for a youth national service program and for financing college tuition. Important steps that encourage social responsibility and create educational opportunities. Finally, this administration has made a bold commitment to diversity. I know that the search for minorities and women to fill high cabinet posts gave some in the media and elsewhere a field day, but I say to you, it was the right thing to do. It gave us an Attorney General who is tough, well-respected, and decisive. It gave us an Agriculture Secretary who knows what it's like to till the soil. It gave us a Commerce Secretary who can face down the Japanese, an Energy Secretary who knows the industry inside out, and a Secretary of Housing and Urban Development who understands the needs and aspirations of urban America. More importantly, this administration showed that inclusion and diversity are important objectives that can be implemented without compromising competence and quality. And I believe these early months have been instructive, defining experiences in the education of a new president and a new administration. I believe this administration has learned some important lessons of governance, and we'll see a more focused, more disciplined approach, an approach that reaches out to the public, marshals grassroots support, makes the case for bipartisan cooperation, and thus assures a new consensus that transcends party and political rivalry. The American public wants change. It voted 62% for change. The American public wants its leaders, public and private, Democratic and Republican, to address issues basic to our future and our children's future. I believe that there is a growing consensus among the American people, a consensus that government can and should be a force for good, that fairness is the glue that holds our society together, that if some Americans are second-class citizens, then America will become a second-class country, that we are interdependent and can only be as strong as the weakest of the links that bind us together, and that our future depends on making the investments and the sacrifices necessary to grow the economy. That consensus is good for America, for whether the issue is debt reduction, health care, education, economic stagnation, urban decline, crime, or war. We are all in this together, and there is no hiding place down here. That consensus recognizes, too, that the democratic free enterprise system will be in danger if America finds itself in economic decline with a diverse society torn by lower living standards and racial, ethnic, and class divisions. Graduates, wherever you go from this place and whatever you do, I say to you, there is no hiding place down here. And I would suggest that as you pursue your chosen profession, as your careers take hold, as you rear your families, as you plan your futures, that you become agents of change, that you play your part in building a better, more fair, more inclusive America, that you understand that every child that grows up hungry or homeless, every child that grows up uneducated, every young adult denied training and job opportunities represents precious human resources America cannot afford to lose. It is written in Luke 19:26, to whom much is given, much is required. As witnessed here today, you have been given much, and you will get much more. But I've come simply to ask that in return, you share, you care, you dare, and you lead. For you can help America change for the better. You can help America live up to its vast potential as a beacon of world freedom and a land of plenty for all of its people. This commencement marks the beginning of your acceptance of what has been called the terrific responsibility to human life. You now share that responsibility fully, responsible for shaping your own lives and your country's destiny. And as you do, hear the words of Herman Melville, who wrote, "We cannot live for ourselves alone. Our lives are connected by 1,000 invisible threads, and along these sympathetic fibers, our actions run as causes and return to us as results." Now, as you go down from this place, as you take leave from these hallowed grounds, as you say farewell to your alma mater, as you accept the responsibilities and duties of citizenship, be steadfast, be strong, be of good cheer, and as you go, may your own dreams be your only boundaries, henceforth, now, and forever. Amen. Amen.